Welcome into Spilly on the Rocks. It's been a little bit of time. That's okay. Taking a little bit of a break, just catching up on life. My daughter turned 16. So that was kind of cool. All-Star break. A lot of good things, especially around baseball. All-Star game was awesome. I haven't had a chance to talk about that. The home run derby was great. This is the last year that ESPN has a home run derby, so there's a bunch of bidders, and that should be coming out somewhat soon. There's a couple massive streaming platforms that's interested in buying the ESPN package. So that means Sunday Night Baseball is going to go to whatever streaming package, the home run derby, and then the wild card games. So we'll see. I heard there should be an announcement somewhat soon. Home run derby was really fun for a couple reasons. Like we see, homers hit. There was one that was 513 feet from O'Neill Cruz, which was nuts. And so I always love watching the home run derby. Love the All-Star game. Hunter Goodman got to play in that thing. It was sweet. And so that All-Star game ended up on a three-panel, basically three hitters again. Like it was a home run derby to end the game instead of extra innings. And it was Kyle Schwarber that ended up hitting all three pitches and won the All-Star game for the National League in a home run derby. Just crazy. So Rockies, this was great. Rockies took on the Minnesota Twins after the All-Star break. They had a team meeting before. So on Friday, they had a team meeting. And basically they said, we have to play better. And this is what was expected. Players in that room talked. Warren Schaefer talked. I kept hearing about it over the weekend. They were talking about being more aggressive with the base running, being aggressive with their early work, like all the things to start holding each other accountable to a level, to a standard that they're trying to play to. And then the results followed up. So it was nice. Kyle Freeland pitched on Friday, kind of set the tone, quality start for Kyle. We saw the return of Ezekiel Tovar. Man, this guy's good. Ezekiel Tovar is good. History of the game, minimum, I think it's a minimum 500 games played. He's one of the highest fielding percentages all time, which is kind of fun. By the way, most people don't know this, but it goes Omar Vizquel, number one in fielding percentage, Troy Tulowitzki right behind him. So Tulo is the number two fielding percentage shortstop in the history of baseball. And people always talk about his offensive numbers. He was a stud when it came to his defense. And Tovar's right there. Tovar's right there defensively with Tulo. A little different on how they do stuff, but he was great. So Tovar, a couple hits on Friday when he came back. He had 3 hits on Saturday, including a big 3-run home run. And then on Sunday, Rockies lost. But what was interesting about this series against the Twins, it was the first home series the Rockies have won in 2025. Let that sink in. First home series win of 2025. And they had a chance to go for the sweep. That didn't happen. Joe Ryan was just filthy. And so Joe Ryan, the all-star for the Twins, he ended up riding the ship for the Twins. And Twins leave Colorado. They go and play the Dodgers now. Dodgers got swept by the Brewers. Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers have been nasty. And so that's kind of one of those teams talk about, like teams to model yourself after. How many times have you heard me say Brewers, Guardians, in some ways the Twins? But Brewers for me, I mean, like they do it year in, year out. They have a better win percentage right now than the Dodgers, the Milwaukee Brewers, with less payroll, obviously. And so Matt Arnold, who is the president of baseball ops, Gaucho, great story. His story is he was an intern when he was at UCSB. He wasn't a baseball player, loves baseball, and would drive from UCSB, which was about 90 plus minutes to get to Dodger Stadium. And that's where he started to connect the dots with all those Dodgers guys, including Andrew Friedman. And so Matt Arnold bounced around, He ended up being in Tampa for a bit. I think he was in Cleveland for a little bit, and then he was in Milwaukee. And so his story is fantastic. So really one of like the truly great executives. And a lot happening for the Rockies. I mean, last week, I'll definitely do a whole breakdown on the draft. I'm waiting for some of these guys to start signing. If you didn't hear, it was Ethan Holiday. Rockies got him number 4. Many people argued that Ethan was the best overall player in the country, but he was out of high school, and there was some concerns about what the cost of signing him was going to be. So the first overall pick, Washington Nationals, uh, and if you remember like any of this stuff, it's funny how all these things kind of trickle down. So however you feel about like the Holiday name and like I can't believe the Rockies took another Holiday. Well, here's what happened. So Holiday Ethan is represented by Scott Boras. DeBartolo, who took over for Mike Rizzo, Rizzo got fired along with Davey Collins about 10 days ago. So kind of like really interesting timing. A lot of it was more to do with the contract. So there was a contract option that had to be accepted, and they weren't going to accept it, and they had it in July. Don't ever do options in July. Just dumb when it comes to front offices and managers. So, little bit of a, in my opinion, a clerical error, just because it's so much to swap right before. So DeBartolo decided he was not going to engage with Boras clients. And if you know Mike Rizzo was really tight with Scott Boras. There's a bunch of Boras clients that have signed with with the Nationals over time. And so we'll see. Like, so that was the reason why Ethan didn't go number 1 to the Nationals, and then number 2 was the Anaheim Angels. They had the second overall pick, and they took a Gaucho, which I love, Tyler Bremer. But Bremer signed for about, I think it was like $2 million less than slot. So this was more of a strategic, try to get the best college pitcher and then use that money, reallocate it down with their other draft picks to get better draft picks other than the second overall pick. So Ethan didn't get taken there. And then he fell to number 4, which the Rockies obviously took. So waiting to find out. It might be as soon as today. Well, I'm doing this Sunday night, but Monday we should hear about the signing and physicals and all that stuff when it comes to Ethan Holiday. So that's kind of cool that the Rockies got Ethan Holiday. I was actually holding Ethan within hours after he's born. He was born in Tucson, Arizona during spring training, and we were actually babysitting Corey Sullivan, and now we're babysitting Jackson while they were while Leslie was giving birth. Leslie Holiday was giving birth to Ethan. So pretty cool. So I mean, I've known that family for a long time, obviously since I played with Matt. Our families are tight, and to see Ethan as a Rocky is pretty special. I have different opinions on it, just based on, I'm biased towards Ethan because I love the family. I always wonder, from a standpoint of, especially given that the Rockies still have a ways to go in development, like we want to make sure that Ethan develops at the highest level. And there's some things that the Rockies need to improve upon so they can get the best out of Ethan Holiday. When he gets to the big league. So that's good. The Rockies are now getting ready to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. So Nolan Arenado, Cardinals are in town. One thing to note with what we saw this weekend with the Rockies was there was a bunch of scouts, like way more scouts than normal. I mean, there was probably 20 scouts at the game, and there'll be a bunch of scouts this week. Part of it is, teams are interested in the Twins. They have a bunch of guys on expiring contracts that might be available because the Twins are kind of in that funky spot. They're not playing to a level that they're expecting, so they're kind of in a similar spot like the Arizona Diamondbacks. We learned that Eugenio Suarez was kind of said he's available. So Gino Suarez of the Diamondbacks, who has 34 homers right now, is available. So there's a couple teams kicking the tires on third base, Yankees being one of them, like probably on the top of the chart. So does that mean Ryan McMahon is on the market and is on the move? I think so. I think there's a lot of interest in Ryan McMahon. Obviously, last year would have been a better time to trade McMahon when he was an all-star. This year, he hasn't been putting up the all-star numbers, but we'll see what ends up happening. And McMahon's starting to swing the bat well. When he gets hot, he gets like red hot. So he's had multiple games with multiple hits. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's been doing good. Hit a homer on Saturday, hit a homer on Friday, two doubles on Sunday. So McMahon's swinging the bat well, perfect, especially with a bunch of scouts in attendance. I think people are looking at Jake Bird. People are looking at Jimmy Herget. I don't know where Tyler Kinley's market is. I know people are interested in Seth Halverson. They're interested in Victor Vodnik. Those are all guys that have years of control in Halverson and Vodnik. Don't know if the Rockies, what their tolerance is there. Um, you know how I feel. Rockies are not in a window to win right now. They're not in a window to win next year, and they're not in a window. There might be in a window in 3 years. So if these players aren't in your window in the next 3 years, you should probably move on from them. You should probably trade them. And that's not saying like I'm not advocating to like just trade to trade because it makes sense. And I think there's a lot of teams out there that can use some of the Rockies players currently on the roster that could possibly bring something back in return. And now it boils down to, does Bill Schmidt in the front office have the ability to make these trades? We'll see. I don't know. I don't have that answer. I wish I did. I wish I knew, because I mean, if it was me in that spot, like I am trading basically everybody. One bad note about Sunday's game was Herman had to come out of the game in the fourth inning. He had this something in the front of his shoulder, his right arm. He couldn't get it loose, felt it after his last start in Cincinnati. He's like finally starting to pitch well. He had 8 punch outs in Cincinnati right before the All-Star break. And then wasn't feeling right. He was throwing about 92. They might miss his next start. They might skip it. So, I mean, he could go on the IL for 10 days. That's right in front of trade deadline. So Herman, who would make a ton of sense to move because he's in the last couple months of his deal. So that's not great. So another one of those chips that the Rockies could possibly move. I don't know what the tolerance is going to be for another team, especially an injury right before trade deadline. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But good weekend for the Rockies. I mean, first home series win in 2025. They're looking to keep that going against the St. Louis Cardinals, who come rolling into town. And Cardinals are very, very interesting because there's a bunch of players on that team that probably could get moved. Last little note is the Rockies for the second half of the year. They have the second hardest strength of schedule based on win percentages of teams that they're going to face. The Reds have number 1, the Rockies are number 2, and it's a 517 win percentage. 517. So they're basically, I mean, they're playing the National League West, playing the NL West, and not going to be easy. Rockies still trying to get, hopefully they're getting to 45 wins, for the love of God. 50 wins would be amazing. I don't think that's going to happen. But, hopefully just get out of that historic number. We thought at times that they might be on pace for about 35 wins, which is just like, no. But the Rockies with 2 wins, they're 24 and 75 now. 24 and 75. So can they win 25 more games the rest of the year? Can they get to 50? 50 means that's 112 losses. That would be much better than 135 losses, which they were on pace at earlier in the year. So hopefully this will get something going back on track. And then if there is trade deadline and they are moving guys, I mean, they're going to go backwards again. So we'll see. But there are some silver linings. Silver linings. Tovar's back. So that is good. And Mickey Moniak's been a good story. 14 homers for Mickey Moniak. That's nice. Very, very nice. All right. I'll be back at it, especially when it comes to breaking down the draft. I'm going to do that one next. That's going to be my next Spilly on the Rocks. Follow me at SpillyGoat19 and follow the boys at Mile High Sports.